You flip a switch, and instantly the light turns on. It feels simple. It feels obvious. But behind that tiny moment is one of the largest and most complex machines ever built by humans. The electricity in your home did not come from a battery in the wall. Most of it was created just a fraction of a second ago, sometimes hundreds of kilometers away. And here is the strange part. Electricity cannot be easily stored in large amounts. So the exact energy you use, the moment you use it, has to be made at that very same moment, somewhere far away. So how does electricity travel across a country and arrive at your home the instant you need it? How does this invisible system keep an entire nation powered every second of every day? Let us break it down. It all begins at the power plant. And most power plants, no matter what fuel they use, work on the same basic idea. They spin a giant magnet inside coils of wire. To do that, they need to turn a turbine. Some plants burn coal or gas to boil water into steam, and the steam spins the turbine. Others use the force of falling water or the pressure of nuclear heat. Wind farms let the wind turn the blades directly. Solar panels work differently, turning sunlight straight into electricity. But in most of the world, the core trick is the same. Spinning motion becomes electric power. Here is the key idea. When you move a magnet near a coil of wire, it pushes the electrons in that wire into motion. That flow of electrons is electricity. A power plant is really just a machine for spinning magnets on an enormous scale. These generators are huge. A single one can power a small city. And they all spin in near perfect time with each other across the entire country. This timing matters more than you might think. Every generator on the grid has to spin at exactly the same rhythm. If one falls out of step, it can strain the whole system. So thousands of machines spread across a whole nation all turn together like a single giant heartbeat. Now, the electricity has to travel, and it often has to travel very far. But there is a problem. When electricity flows through a wire, some of it is lost as heat along the way. Over long distances, that loss can be huge. So engineers use a clever trick. Before sending electricity on its long journey, they raise its voltage to an incredibly high level, hundreds of thousands of volts. Higher voltage means the same power can travel with far less loss. This is done by a device called a transformer. A step-up transformer boosts the voltage for the long trip across the country. This is why those giant metal towers and long cables exist. They carry electricity at extreme voltage across huge distances, losing as little energy as possible. It is the highway system of the electric grid, but that voltage is far too dangerous for your home. So as the electricity gets closer to where it is used, other transformers step the voltage back down again and again, making it safer at every stage. This is the real genius of the system. High voltage for the long journey to save energy, then low, safe voltage for the final delivery. Transformers are the quiet heroes that make both possible. Without them, sending power across a country would waste far too much energy to ever work. The electricity arrives first at a substation. This is like a local hub. Here, the voltage is lowered and the power is split into smaller lines that spread out into neighborhoods. From the substation, the lines run along streets, on poles, or buried underground. Near your home, one last small transformer lowers the voltage to the level your outlets use. Then, the electricity passes through a meter, which measures exactly how much you use. From there, it flows into the wires hidden inside your walls, and it waits. The moment you flip the switch, you complete a circuit. That opens the path, and electricity rushes through to power your light in an instant. The whole journey, from a spinning generator to your bulb, happens at nearly the speed of light. Now, here is the most amazing part of all. Remember, electricity cannot be easily stored, so the grid has to make exactly as much power as everyone is using at every single second. If people suddenly use more power, the grid must instantly make more. If they use less, it must make less. Supply and demand have to match perfectly all the time. Think about what happens during a popular event. Millions of people might turn on their kettles at the same moment. The grid has to see that surge coming and respond in seconds. Operators watch the grid constantly. They measure something called frequency. If the grid is perfectly balanced, the frequency stays steady. If demand rises too fast, the frequency drops, and they must add more power right away. To keep up, some power plants run all the time as a steady base. Others can be switched on quickly, just to handle short spikes in demand. It is a constant, delicate balancing act, happening every second, day and night. Operators even plan ahead using the weather and the time of day. They know demand rises in the morning as people wake up, and in the evening as they come home. They predict these waves and prepare the right amount of power in advance. It is part science, part forecasting, and it never stops. But what happens when the balance fails? If demand suddenly overwhelms supply or a major line goes down, the grid can become unstable. To protect itself, the grid has automatic safety systems. They can cut off parts of the network to stop the problem from spreading. But if something goes very wrong, the failure can cascade, and large areas can lose power at once. This is a blackout. Bringing the grid back is a careful process. Operators must slowly reconnect everything, balancing supply and demand as they go. Restarting a whole grid from nothing is one of the hardest jobs in engineering. That is why the grid is built with so many backups and safety layers. Its whole purpose is to keep that balance and keep the lights on, no matter what. Step back and look at the whole thing. Power plants, transformers, substations, and millions of kilometers of wire, all connected together, all working in perfect time. Many people call the power grid the largest machine ever built, and every part of it is working together right now, just so that your light turns on the instant you ask. So the next time you flip a switch, remember, you are not just turning on a light. You are reaching into a vast, invisible machine that spans your entire country, and it answers you in a fraction of a second. From planes flying in the dark, to submarines deep in the ocean, to a space station in orbit, to ships crossing the sea, and now to the power in your walls. Every one is an invisible system, quietly holding up the world around you. And here is a thought to leave you with. Electricity reaches you the instant you flip a switch. But what about the clean water that appears the instant you turn a tap? Where does it really come from, and how is it safe to drink? That is the next video on system logic. If you learned something new today, subscribe. Because the world is full of invisible systems, and we are just getting started.